behalf of Academics for Action and Development, I welcome everyone here for a very important discussion on one of the issues that is a hot issue, so to speak, especially with regard to the upcoming admission process that the universities are going to, roll out. So the discussion today is on this CU-CET, that is the Central Universities Common Entrance Test. That is, from many quarters, we are hearing the news that in all likelihood, it may be implemented in 2021 itself, this year itself, right? So therefore, it is an issue of great importance, especially even though, yet nothing, a final go ahead from the Education Ministry has not come about. Yet, there are a lot of concerns that have been raised from various stakeholders, especially students and teachers in academia. Therefore, we have gathered here today to discuss or raise our observations on what exactly CU-CET is, what are the implications of CU-CET in a country that is as diverse, culturally, philosophically, as India, and what can we, what are the problems that can come with the implementation of CU-CET. Once again, on behalf of AAD, I would like to welcome everyone here, and just to sort of give a backdrop to this formulation or implement the proposed likelihood of the implementation of CU-CET. Last year, the Union Education Ministry constituted a committee to look into the modalities for the Central Universities Common Entrance Test for admissions to all undergraduate courses at Central Universities. And this was to be in accordance with the National Education Policy of 2020, right? The National Education Policy talks about admission to all undergraduate programs of the higher education institutions to be done through assessment of the NTA, that is the National Testing Agency, in order to eliminate, and I quote, the burden of numerous overlapping entrance exams developed separately by each HEI, right? So the vision or the idea that the NEP tries to project is that of one nation, one test, one admission under the NEP 2020. It would also mean, if it is implemented, right now it is not sort of a clear directive has not come from the ministry yet, but there are news reports and information coming from other quarters that in all likelihood it may be implemented in whatever form, with whatever formula. So if it is implemented from 2021 onwards, it means that all the central universities will be able to select students based on one national entrance exam, right? So to discuss the merit or the demerit of this kind of an idea of having one common national entrance exam for students across the country, we have a very eminent panel here today, and I would like to introduce them. The first speaker for the discussion today is Professor Chandrachur Singh, who's an associate professor in the Department of Political Science, Hindu College, University of Delhi. He holds a doctoral degree from the University of Birmingham, UK, where he also served as India country champion. Dr. Chandrachur Singh is a regular contributor both to the electronic as well as the print media. He has articulated his concerns over the CU-CET quite effectively over the last few months. The second speaker for the day.
Richa, yes. Please announce that everybody has to mute their systems, or ask Manish to mute everybody.
Yes, I would request all audience here to kind of...
Richa, you are muted. Richa, unmute your...
I would request everyone in the audience to please mute yourselves, right? And also switch off your videos if possible so that there is better internet connectivity throughout the panel discussion. Okay, thank you. So Professor Chandrachur Singh has articulated his concerns over the CU-CET quite effectively over the last few months. The second speaker for today is Professor Asok Barman, who is a senior teacher activist. He's been a former president of AIFUCTO, that is All India Federation of University and College Teachers Organization, and he's currently the president of the Forum of Concerned Teachers. The third speaker today is our very own Professor Aditya Narayan Misra, who is of course also a senior teacher activist and our guiding light. He's currently the chairman of Academics of Action and Development. He has been a former president of Delhi University Teachers Association and also of FEDCUTA, that is Federation of Central University Teachers Association. Without further ado, I would like to request our first speaker for today to please put forward your understanding of the CU-CET. But before that, I would also like to request the audience, if there are any questions, to kindly post them on the chat box, and we will take up the questions at the end of all three speakers having spoken. Professor Chandrachur Singh.
Thank you, Richa. Thank you for inviting me. On a personal note, I must say that I'm feeling elated and privileged in sharing this space with Aditya Bhaiya. And please forgive me for addressing him as Bhaiya, that too on such a formal forum. But I do not know why I, or for that matter, many of my friends haven't been able to address him as anything other than Bhaiya. I'm sure many of us who are here would understand what I'm trying to say, given the beloved place that Aditya Bhaiya occupies in our lives. I'm also thankful to all my friends, both from the university and the media, for sparing their times in being present here. Let me start by saying that wide sweeping reformist ideas, particularly in the times of uncertainty and gloom, may appear intuitive, but in practical terms may not be logical. Instead, they may simply turn out to be disastrous. Logic, as we all know, can be countered by alternative logic. And therefore, that can lead to progress. But intuitions, particularly premised on catchy appeals, may turn out to be counterproductive. And that is why we must look to the mundane realities of life before moving on. To me, the CU-CET is one such attempt. It certainly seems to be a compulsive idea, pitched on a very catchy slogan of one nation, one test, one admission, and packaged under the new education policy 2020. I think it is important, therefore, that compulsive ideas like the CU-CET must be scrutinized, analyzed thoroughly before embarking on the path of their implementation. Without giving a closer critical look or scrutinizing its applicability, even most of the promising ideas can actually turn out to be disappointing. Allow me, since I come from that background of political science and I've been teaching papers on political philosophy, I think the noted British philosopher Isaiah Berlin wrote a book, and he lifted this, the title of his book from a quote given by Immanuel Kant. Berlin, in his book, The Crooked Timber of Humanity, put a classic defense of why straitjacketing may not be the best foot forward in resolving complex social issues of our times. Berlin was obviously trying to tell us that one-stroke attempts at bringing heaven on earth is not going to serve the purposes. What we need instead is diversified attempts and approaches in resolving intricate issues. Look at the universities that we have. And I'm happy to be speaking to colleagues who know universities much better than many people outside the universities do. Look at the universities. Even the best of the optimists would agree with me that our universities are severely plagued with myriad, complex, endemic problems, ranging from a range of issues that you can look into: uneven academic standards, structures, funding, faculty recruitment, promotions, content delivery, governance. I'm not saying that this should not be addressed or it should be left unaddressed. On the contrary, addressing them should be the first priority of any responsible system of governance and administration. However, what is deeply disturbing is that instead of prioritizing attempts for undertaking structural reforms at the building block levels, the focus seems to be on creating bubbles, not realizing that bubbles are very short-lived. Let me turn to the general reason, or many reasons, why the CU-CET seems to be an idea whose time has not come. I'll come to specifically the case of Delhi University a bit later, but let me generally try and tell you why is it that CU-CET is something which is being pushed in a hurry and its time is not there. We all know the university structure in India, don't we? It's not uniform. You have different types of universities. You have federal universities, you have quasi-federal universities, you have standalone institutions. And so therefore, when you apply one straight jacket to the system of diversity, I'm sure you'll end up creating more problems than you would resolve. And to prove this point, this is the 11th year of CU-CET. It's not that CU-CET has been conceptualized now. In 2010, it became functional. And how many central universities do you have till now who opted for CU-CET? Only 14. And even of the 14, I don't see a Delhi University there. I don't see an Allahabad University there. I don't see a BHU there. So if the universities have not joined the bandwagon, there must be some reasons for it. And that is, the universities believe or have found that getting the affiliated colleges to agree to a common interest test is a difficult proposition. Remember, in Delhi University, we had this English Honors Common Interest Test for English Honors. What happens to that? What happened to that? We had to discard it. Secondly, a common aptitude test by its nature severely undermines the autonomy of an institution or university to design its own standards and yardsticks of assessing its prospective students' capabilities. After all, what is that distinguishes a good university from a not so good one? It is the kind of courses it offers and the standards at which not just teaching, learning, but that assessments are done. I'm sure maybe we can talk about assessments sometime later, but why is it that hundreds and thousands of students come to Delhi University and not to the other universities? I think there is a catch there, the assessments, which is also not going haywire, but still Delhi University has been sticking to its assessment, to the quality of assessment and the processes. So shouldn't a university have its own right to check or ask for particularities? Now, a common interest test in a state is a different proposition. But remember, to hold it for central universities where the feeder cadre or the intake pool largely remains inter-territorial, that is not limited to the one or few states, but to the entire number of states that we have. So therefore, and remember, there are different people, different methods of learning, different languages that they come from. So therefore, having one test is not something which will accommodate that kind of a diversity. A common entrance test forces a linear ranking among students who have a very different kind of skills. Now, it's like asking a fish to climb a tree and then saying that, okay, everybody was asked to climb the tree, so therefore this is fair. Do understand that in a country where the school dropout rates, I'm saying this, and please check this, where the school dropout rates of the students from the most vulnerable of castes and classes is still too high, where the system of education has been genuinely uneven, a common test would only put the most advantageous in the driver's seat. A common entrance test may even compromise on the divergent prerequisites of a course and also the prerogative of the university to admit students based on different capabilities. It may limit a university's choice of acknowledging different achievements of the students, including sports or the other bases, and giving them marks, bonus marks on that. So what a single test is doing is that it's taking away the most important component of the autonomy that a university must enjoy. And I must underline this word autonomy, because which is being severely compromised everywhere. And in addition to that, it also becomes very unfair to students, because students' capabilities and interests do not align simply with one particular test. In India, particularly, qualitative educational resources have not been able to grow up in proportion to the population. The number of seats, the free seats as we call it, in government colleges, in highly sought after disciplines, it's simply a small fraction of the total demand. And in such a case, a test based on admission process will make life more stressful, as exams will become stringently competitive to select a few who can be accommodated within the limited capacity of government colleges. Now, this is the reason why general reasons why I believe that the CU-CET is something which needs to be discussed, debated, at least for the time being. Now, let's come to the case of Delhi University, which is from where this whole idea, the soaring cutoffs. I remember last year, my department in my college had 99.5%, and against 28 seats that we had 109 of admissions, 40 of them having 100 by 100. So I think precisely citing these instances that this whole idea of CU-CET has been floated. Now let's try and look at in terms of statistics and numbers. Now at Delhi University, it has been said, we don't know, there's been no blueprint as of now, but whatever we learn from here and there, it has been said that the class 12 mark would still remain relevant, it will be halved, and then there will be a test, and then there will be a combination of these marks. And perhaps the hope is that this common aptitude test will reduce the cutoffs, as those who may have scored high in boards for whatever reasons or factors may or may not be able to repeat the feat in the aptitude test. So if they go low on the aptitude test, the cutoffs overall will go low. So perhaps it's one way of managing the cutoffs. Now, even if we were to take such an argument on the face value, a realistic assessment of the numbers offers a very contradictory scenario. Now look at this. Now this is CBSE data last year. Of all those students who appeared for class 12, around 1,57,934 students scored over 90%. 38,700 almost had more than 95%. And over 5,000 students had a perfect 100%. Now, if you look to this number and then look at the exact number of seats or the approximate number of seats that the Delhi University has to offer, which is around 70,000. So even if we limit, which is something which is not doable and shouldn't be done, but even if we were to limit the admissions at DU to CBSE board students alone, the competition will still remain tough, because remember, halving the board marks would mean that over a lakh of students would still be at the same level. And even if half of them score very high in the aptitude test and match it with their performance in the board exams, the resultant percentile cutoff would still be unrealistically higher. The archaic reputations of a few select colleges, elite colleges as you call it, will only ensure that the demand remains much higher than the supply. So I've tried to give you the general reason and particularly specific reasons for Delhi University as well. See, the college entrance exams are designed to test basic proficiency and allow students to change their mind on disciplines they wish to pursue after they have joined college. But that may not be the case in India unless the government or the UGC or the powers that be are willing to undertake structural reforms at the university levels. So even if one were to be supportive of the CU-CET, the need is that before you implement CU-CET, the universities must be brought at a level playing field so that they are open and competitive enough to showcase their strength. So what does the CU-CET do except for adding on the high stress levels amongst the teenagers? And I have a daughter who's just about to get into the colleges. In addition to adding to the stress levels, it does nothing. It simply tries to double cross them. Luckily, they were spared from taking the board exam. But the stress continues, particularly this year, given the fact that students who were to be appearing or who are to be coming to the college, they do not know, they're still clueless in terms of what is in store for them in the times ahead. The proposal has two strong benefits though. A, remember the CLAT, and every time you go to Karol Bagh or come to Mukherjee Nagar or go here and there, you'll see hoardings, this sir, that sir. So one benefit that this scheme may lead to is the blooming of a new category of coaching factories. I call them factories. वहाँ तसल्ली बख्श रूप से बनाते हैं. And second, it certainly would allow institutions to swiftly ride over their inherent structural deficiencies. And I think here is the agenda. Inherent structural deficiencies and limitations, because in one jacket, every institution, all universities will be allowed to fit in. For the elites one in particular, it would remain business as usual, steep cutoffs without offering or catering to the right of the prospective students to know what is in store for them. And I must tell you this because I've been very vocal and critical of this. Every time a 99, 100%er comes to me in my college, I'll be honest, if I have a right to ask for 100%, I also have a duty to offer the best of the things that I could. Unfortunately, I don't. Unfortunately, I don't. Unfortunately, not that I do not want to, but perhaps the systemic, the structures do not allow me to do so. So I think it's again a case of hyperbole, packaged slogans, and it offers virtually nothing. I don't think I should exceed the time limit. And I'm really sorry. I must tell you that I was hoping that Aditya Bhaiya will speak and I will simply, repeat thereafter. But, a senior person as he is and a very competent person, he simply flipped it on and says, "Acha, ab dekho kya hota hai." So I'm thankful to both of you, and I'll be happy to take questions as and when they come. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Professor Chandrachur Singh. I think, you have very nicely, very effectively shown how the problem for which, CU-CET is supposed to be, proposed, or the legitimizing principle for CU-CET has been that there has been a soaring off of marks, cutoffs. So therefore a level playing field should be created for students, through the CU-CET. That's the legitimizing principle that has come on various occasions through the NEP and other areas as well. But you have very nicely shown how it will still not resolve the problem of cutoffs, the CU-CET, because it will eventually, lead to to students, granting of admission to students who have better resources, right? Who have better learning material, sort of a pro upper class bias to CU-CET. And this therefore totally ignores the entire, very reality of the diversity, in terms of educational curriculum, in terms of its very own philosophy of the various regions of the country is. So therefore, trying to homogenize education and, overlook all the various different local contexts is definitely not the way forward as far as admissions are concerned. So thank you, Professor Chandrachur Singh. We'll definitely take up questions at the end of the session. I would now like to request Professor Asok Barman to kindly, give us his preliminary observations on the CU-CET. Professor Barman.
Thank you, Richa ji. Namaskar to all of you who have come here, collective speakers and listeners. In fact, I am a little odd person here because I am not from Central University. So when Aditya ji proposed this, that I should be a speaker, I said that I don't belong to this Central University system. Now Aditya ji said that yes, that I know, but first we have been working together for a long time, decades. We've been working together on various issues, from pay scales to academic discourses like that. And in the NEP also, we work together in our forum and there. Now, first, for Richa ji, one correction that I am not a former president of AIFUCTO. I'm a former general secretary of AIFUCTO. So please, somehow when I have seen it, it was too late to request you to correct it. So I am not former president, I am former general secretary. Of course, I am the president of Forum of Concerned Teachers. This Forum of Concerned Teachers, just a line for that, this is an organization of the teachers, most of them are retired, who are trying to help the society in various ways, particularly the backward students, the poor, minorities, and the students reaching in the distant areas. We try to help them. And also we are concerned with all the problems that our education in particular are facing. Now, how we look at this particular move by the government or the MHRD, it's a part of the NEP, National Education Policy. First, friends, you can see that this entire NEP has been designed to destroy the very ethos, the very basic tenets of our education system developed over decades. And it has been a tendency by the present dispensation to create an extreme kind of centralization in every aspect of this. Now, one nation, one ration card, so one nation, one education test or other entrance test. So this is funny and has got no basis. So that we have some of the central universities in West Bengal, my home state, is Vishwabharati University. You understand that the Vishwabharati University has got its own culture, own principles, and own tradition. So naturally, whenever taking into local condition, that also you have spoken about, Rita ji also mentioned about it, that you will have to look into this particular aspect. So I won't touch those points Professor Chandrachur talked about. I'll only tell you that what started with the Central University will ultimately be applicable to the state universities. They experiment with the first 14 universities, okay, and central universities, and now all central universities. Now, this has raised a series of questions about the proper suitability of these. So there is no flexibility. The kind of flexibility is a character of the modern education. So a student from arts, a science can switch over to arts. Now, in this particular formula, there will be domain knowledge part. How a student of physics can have a domain knowledge in economics, but they'll be tested on that only. Here, many things they have talked about. One is domain knowledge. And Delhi University particularly, Delhi University is the leader of Indian education system. And the other universities try to take certain cues from them and learn the things in such a manner. So this centralization, and also what Professor Chandrachur has said, that one size fits all, a very good expression, that we would like to have the same thing for everybody, same kind of thing. And particularly, what is our, we are extremely worried and so to say, anxious to see that this government is trying to implement NEP, and now this common entrance test, and maybe so many other things will be coming during a period when there is democratic discussion is absent. You have no parliament, you have no discussion, you passed NEP. And teachers' organizations are given least opportunity to interact with the appropriate authorities. Now, we have been seeing that from the time of the Gajendra Gokar Commission and all these different exercises by different education commissions, that there has been wide discussions with the teachers. I tell you, that time I was General Secretary of All India Federation. Now, when the new education policy questions came up and this new government tried to, we said that we want to make a representation. They said that no. I think of it that the 90% of the teachers organization and federation, which has been working so closely with the UGC, MHRD, in all respects for decades, have been denied even one audience. Didn't have an opportunity to talk to them. So what is paining me, or what is extremely disturbing to me, that because of this move, they would try to do everything from the central bureaucratic level. It's not entirely bureaucratic, you know, I know, but anyway, at least it appears to be a bureaucratic decision that there will be one test. So my question is this, that if this is allowed, there will be no autonomy, no flexibility, no respect for the local conditions, and there will be a totally bulldozing the entire system. If you don't discuss with the teachers, if you don't discuss with the teachers association leaders, if you don't discuss with, or just discuss with select few of the intellectuals, and you try to thrust it upon us. So how we look at this, the outsiders, I mean, I'm an outsider in the sense that I don't teach in central university. Though we are working together, we are working together hand in hand in all respects for decades. One time there was one organization, AIFUCTO, and the central universities were part of that. After that, it was formed, and on the federation, there are two federations. One is State University Teachers Federation and the Central University Teachers Federation. But we are working closely. Now, this issue raises a few questions. Many students from Calcutta, I just tell you from my experience, they are trying to go to Delhi University or JNU to study something. They are asking me over phone that what is happening? There has been no proper notification yet. So uncertainty, there is no flexibility, there is absolute uncertainty, and there is absolute bureaucratic exercises like that. So apart from the other issues, other speakers will say, Aditya ji is the best person to outline this thing. This I am not going into. What kinds of problems it gives rise to? It gives rise to a score of problems. Who will solve it? Who will explain it to it? Nobody is there to explain it. And we don't have any academic forum or other democratic forum we can take it up. Now, colleagues, I'll just tell you that in respect of the different state universities, they are also bewildered. They are also very much anxious to see what is happening at the central university level. We know this thing starts with the central universities and ultimately passed on to the state universities. And there are people also here in the states who like to take the opportunity and further centralize at the state level. Not all states, but at least in some states. So this is a macro problem. I mean, the nationwide problem for this kind of move. NEP itself is a dangerous thing. Many dangerous issues, you know, we discussed about that. And one of that is common interest test, like one nation and one test, entrance test. So what we should do? I think I will concentrate on the action part of that. I understand that all the associations, all the teachers units, all the university college level teachers, not the only central university teachers, state university teachers should also be informed about that. They should also understand the problem, because but attack will also be on them. And the student community is suffering from extreme uncertainty. Then there is no, as far as I know, there has been no notification yet that when this is going to take place. Of course, they are talking about this thing. So there has been delay, and there will be further delay. So if this goes on, ultimately the students, what is the what you call the intrinsic value of a student, what you call the qualitative improvement of a student, that will be very much affected. And this general awareness and mathematical reasoning, or etc., which are also very much the engineering students are doing it, because the central, the technical exams will be based on the entire syllabus. But there has been no such thing. All the universities have cut down their syllabus. No class, and the syllabus is also, all the universities, state or central, I think, there's been reduced syllabus. So if they don't know the entire syllabus, and the questions come on that part also, how do we expect? So these are serious questions. What about domain knowledge? How a student of, say, physics, who wants to study history in JNU or Delhi University or Jamia, what they can do? They can study simply because this is a very rigid type of structure they have devised. So the danger to our present generation of the students is immense. They're going to suffer a lot. And Professor Chandrachur has explained, I'm not going into his arguments, very beautifully has explained how this is going to destroy the particular aspect of the student's interest. So I understand that from our point of view, from the outsiders, that is the teachers of state universities, and we, on our behalf, Forum of Concerned Teachers, we have been meeting soon. So this issue will take up. So a few months back, we had a series of, in one of the series, Richa ji was speaker, another session, Aditya ji was speaker, and others were also speakers. We'll take it up. We'll also sensitize the teachers of the entire country about it. This is in our duty, and I understand that if you can produce a good document on the basis of what Professor Chandrachur has said, that whatever you have written, and if you collect inputs from this discussion, if you just have got a literature, a booklet, a response, very clear response to this ad, then definitely that will be of great use to the entire country. And we're waiting for that, expecting that. Thank you very much, Aditya ji, Richa ji, and all the participants. So, in fact, I was reluctant to come here, but now I understand that listening to Professor Chandrachur, and now Aditya, my friend Richa, has already started speaking. She makes a beautiful bridging of the two speeches like that. Not only summary, how the next speaker, it's also a guideline to the next speaker. Thank you, the entire team.
Thank you, Professor Barman. And in fact, I'm very sorry for stating your designation with the AIFUCTO. There was an error in that. I'm extremely sorry. But you have had a vast experience in teacher activism, as Aditya sir tells us about it. And there is a lot to learn from you. And we hope that we always have a continued collaboration of sorts. And we'd love to listen to you always. Thank you, sir. And you've also, very nicely spoken about the flexibility, how it reduces flexibility for the students, especially about, say, for example, if a student who has studied science class 12, but wants to take up humanities for bachelor's, she would want enough time to prepare for an examination such as the CU-CET, which would be subject specific, along with, of course, logical reasoning and quantitative analysis, etc. But it would also be subject specific. So to expect a student from a science background who aspires to take up say history, bachelor's in history, within a few days of time, and not giving enough time to that student to prepare is highly unfair and unjust. There are many other issues with the students, and students have consistently raised their concerns. They've sent letters to DU, to the acting vice chancellor, and so on. But there's also another concern that comes up, that is about implementation. If the CU-CET comes about, it must be, first of all, put across the statutory bodies, such as the Academic Council. And as of now, at least as far as Delhi University is concerned, nothing of that sort has happened. So one of the important issues is also of how it's going to be adopted, not just what it is about and what are the implications, but how it is going to be adopted. That's also one of the important issues. And to speak about implementations of policies, who else could be a better person than Professor Aditya Narayan Misra? And I now invite Professor Misra to kindly speak on this particular issue.
Thank you, Richa. It is extremely very pleasant to listen to Richa, the manner in which he speaks and present the things. Besides, a good activist is very good in her articulations. So I'm quite thankful to you that you have doing this job with all meticulous care and understanding. And let me tell you, I'm the happiest person today because I'm sharing a dais with a person whom I know so closely, Chandrachur. And let me tell you, in Delhi University, I have seen people growing. But Chandrachur's case is one of the finest cases. He has grown into a good researcher, an extremely good teacher, and a very good articulate person. If Delhi University is known for its quality of teaching, then people like Chandrachur Singh, Richa, and our other friends have contributed to this. And you people are the brand ambassadors of the teaching community as far as presenting the right face of the teaching community, that for which we always fight. So God bless you, Chandrachur and Richa, and please, I sincerely pray that you reach the highest things in life. And I'm sure that you people will grow. And my sincere respect to Professor Asok Barman, sir. He has always inspired me in all our fights. After marathon marches, we used to go to the ministry arguing about our things commonly. We never believed that he belongs to a particular organization. And his experience has definitely helped all of us in arguing our cases so nicely, beautifully at our end. So whenever there is an opportunity, considering that he is a fearless person as far as articulation is concerned, I request him. The genre of such people we are missing, sir, today, right now, in the teaching fraternity at the level of leadership. So I'm extremely happy that, and let me also tell this audience that this correction has been done as we have the president-oriented body in the DUTA. Let me tell you, the AIFUCTO is a very vast, big organization of all the state university teachers, and the general secretary is the most powerful person over there. So Dada has been the general secretary for a very long time and effectively led the organization to the pinnacle. So, and all my senior friends, those who have joined, Rekha ji, Kishan Lal ji, Rajesh, and I'm not going to take much of time by taking the names. My sincere apologies for this. Again, all the viewers at the level of Zoom, Facebook and YouTube, I appreciate their participation. See, let me tell you, I will first begin with some 1 or 2 minutes about the general concerns about education, and then I'll go specific to the common entrance, Central University Common Entrance Test. See, I've been always saying that the 20th century and the 19th century were the centuries of exploitation. Exploitation on the basis of gender, exploitation on the basis of caste, exploitation on the basis of the color of the skin, racial discriminations, and colonial exploitation of the natural resources, of the human talent and everything. And we fought successfully against all these things. Some have been mitigated and some are still there in its very skeleton forms. But if you look at the 21st century, the whole dynamics of the 21st century is not to exploit, but to make you exclused. You are exclusion politics. And by using the technology, by using the new ideas very frequently, which others are not too much aware of it, they will try to exclude people, and they will try to take these people to a point that they are compelled to work at whatever price, whatever wages they are being given, or they are excluded just like that. So at a time when this exclusion is taking place, new technologies, new ideas, new things are coming every, say after 2 years, 3 years, making the old ones redundant. The only hope that we see is from education, which will make us relevant so that we do not lose our credence of bargaining capacity, and we can stay respectfully in any given society, being excluded. That only a creative education system, a committed education system, an accessible education system can do this. For that, you need to give more money. That monetary part, I'm not going into much details. For last several years, in 2013, 12th and 13, the government allocation, do not talk about this GDP business, it is also very low, I know that. But let us talk about, don't go by the slogans of 6%, 7%, 10%, are all bogus. Go by what is the commitment of the government. The government's commitment, it was 4.7% in 2013. And it has come down to 3%, 3.2%, 3.1%. So, at level of money, at level of expansion, new central universities were opened at a particular point of time during Arjun Singh ji's time. During the UPA one, new regional colleges for triple ITs, IITs, central universities got opened in various states. How many universities have been opened? How many colleges have been opened? Government funded universities. It has not been done. But they are making this target that they will raise the gross enrollment ratio from 25%, which is right now, that is almost 35 million students are studying, to take it to 50%. That means to push students not into formal education, but to informal education and on online business education. Only those who are privileged will come to the normal education, and rest will have to go to the private, or sorry, those who have money will come to the classroom teaching, and others will have go to the online business. Is this the type of social transformation that we are trying to plan in this country? If through one medium, if there is any change of social status after independence, it is through education and education alone. A change the complexion of the society, have given the power to argue, have given the power to independently earn of all segments of the society. It has to be expanded, but instead of expanding, the slogan is saying that make it gross enrollment ratio at 50%. How will this happen when there are no institutions are getting opened? So they will definitely have to go to MOOCs and so on. This blending of education, blending of this is also a disastrous idea, which is going to not only reduce the quality of teaching, but also is going to displace teachers in a large number. We are going to be irrelevant and excluded. That's why I am saying this is a century of exclusion, and we are going to be also be excluded into this whole process. I will request if you can mute your mics. Please mute your mics. So this is a country where we have 1.3 billion people, or 130 crores of people live.
Sir, you have muted your mic. Could you please switch it on?
हो गया, मैंने कुछ नहीं किया.
All right, sir.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
If today the average age of Indian is 29 years, it's a young country in comparison to 37 for China and almost 48 years in Japan. But this should not remain only a slogan. We have to really educate that mass of people, so that not only in this country they can earn their livelihood, but throughout the world they can spread their wings and make us a proud nation. Their contributions will make us our foreign exchange. But this is not happening. Richa has very rightly pointed out that this is a country where multiplicity is the most diverse type of people, belonging to various languages, regions, religions, social backgrounds. And I sincerely agree with Chandrachur and his argument. Beautifully he has presented Isa Berlin's statement that straight jacketing will be disastrous with this multiplicity and diverse set of people. And this is going to be catastrophic The government knows it. It is not that the government does not know. Rightly, you people have stated that this is, the slogans have been nicely packaged and compulsive ideas are being pushed to make these realities. The government knows that what is going to happen. I know Hindu College, St. Stephen's and Jesus Mary and LSR are not going to be affected. In Delhi University, our fringe colleges are going to be affected. And the rest of the country, the colleges are going to be affected. So this will ultimately drive the students. There will be less students and more number of students will be forced to drive into the private institutions or online programs. This is the grand design of the government, because higher educational institutions, specifically central universities, state universities, are a irritational points for this government. This government, though when in democracy you are not going to tolerate dissent, tolerate discussion, divergence of opinion. If universities are not going to deal with this in an effective manner, then what else is going to happen? If divergent views are not being nourished and patronized in the universities, where else it is going to grow? I know this has been done in a haste, and the government is going ahead with its agenda of implementing it. We all sincerely believe that the national education policy is going to destroy the very foundations of our higher education. And this is also one part of it. We know how this national education policy does not have a provision of permanent teachers. It is talking about contractual teachers, guest faculty, truncated short-term appointments, so that always you are at the mercy of the governing bodies. Similarly, this haste implementation, holding another set of examination, would further delay the session. No clarity on the criteria of admissions to various courses and change the subject stream offered by DU. Professor Barman was rightly saying that how a student of physics or chemistry, if we have always been encouraging interdisciplinarity, we have always allowed students to come from other streams to join. If they feel like taking admission, a student in sociology or in English literature or in political science, then always we have encouraged. Because we know that his soul is calling to take admission in this subject. He'll be doing definitely better than what he was doing. So how he is going to face that examination in political science? He does not know about political science. In 1 month, just after his 12th results or 12th exam is over, will be a master of political science or sociology for that matter, or English literature. So this is straitjacketing, and this is going to cause barriers for students to join other choice courses. Criteria of evaluation, syllabus, exam, admissions, different courses is yet to be announced. All this is going to create problem. This whole examination, one thing is clear, it is subject specific. So if you give in one subject, you are entitled to take admission into that subject. Right now, somebody was weighing his options, whether to take admission in economics honors or history or political science. Somebody may be trying to take admission either in physics or chemistry or mathematics for that matter. Then he will take it. All those leverages, all those options that are open for such students will be completely missing in the system. Till this date, we at the Delhi University have been offering this multidisciplinary transfer due while choosing subjects at till the graduation level. If one aspires to pursue a subject which he did not learn in the class 11th and 12th, then such group of students will face problem in competing in the entrance examination, where there is a subject specific test. It would simply restrict students from joining these courses. And definitely such students will be driven to take admission into either private universities or online programs. Further, if the student appears to one specific subject, he will not be allowed to change the subject even if he meets the required score. The student will have absolutely, we have to understand things. This is the university exists for the society and the students. Let us not close our eyes. The students will have absolute difficulty in preparing for the entrance examination in a short time, and that too in another subject. So they will be forced to continue with the same subject that they are into. If they will do change the subject, then that will be a burden. I fail to understand why do we suspect the class 12 marks that one has obtained only 10 or 12 days beforehand. कौन सा गुणवत्ता हम ले आएंगे? समझ में आती है बात जब मेडिकल और इंजीनियरिंग की बात हो, क्योंकि वो स्पेसिफिक कोर्सेस है। मैं सहमत हूं इस बात से चंद्रचूड़ जी का। उन्होंने जब बताया कि दिल्ली यूनिवर्सिटी में इंग्लिश के लिए एंट्रेंस टेस्ट का शुरुआत किया गया था, एंड वी नो व्हाट हैपेंड टू दैट। Science students may not be prepared to general knowledge section, while arts and commerce stream students may need time to prepare logical reasoning and quantitative ability sections with the provisions of negative marking. So, in a way, we are discouraging students. We are trying to put them at a place, as Chandrachur has rightly stated, that asking a fish to climb a tree, by saying that this is the general norm that we have kept. I request the government to be little bit more sensitive towards the society, towards the students, towards higher education. This is going to cause lots of hardship for marginalized sections of the society, for poor students, and specifically girl students. From where they will be getting will take this coach. The boom of coaching institutions bound to happen. Mushrooming of these institutions. And what is associated with these mushroom institutions, I do not have to tell. We know it. So only the privileged sections of such students staying at some urban places are going to be benefited. Whereas even in the urban places, the marginal sections, why somebody is going to invest on a girl child? Why a laborer or people belonging to the marginalized sections, from where they will get the money to get the coaching? This is a big coaching business that we are entering into. I was told that the DU administration has somewhere stated that they are going to make a combination of the entrance test marks and the plus 12th marks, 12th class marks. I fail to understand which academic council has decided about this, because this is a matter of the academic council. Academic council is the supreme body to decide. The staff councils are also equally empowered, rather in the case of the admissions, wherein we have decided about these issues. And what has this? They have drawn the authority to announce such a thing. They were taken everything. They are taking a leap from the government. They are taking everything for a ride and for granted. I simply, we will all appreciate if such a matter should, first of all, deliberated and discussed in the academic platforms like academic council, staff councils, so that what we should at the end of the day adopt should not harm our own students in joining these institutions. And let us try to prevent the mushrooming of the coaching institutions. So definitely through this platform, we will try to have access with the students, our teachers. Let me tell you, in 1903, a bill was adopted to regulate universities. In 1903, at the Congress session at Chennai, a proposal was adopted by Gokhale and Madan Mohan Malviya ji. It was proposed and seconded and drafted by them. It says, if you convert the universities into a government department, the universities will lose their character and strength for which these have been created. So I will request the government not to interfere too much let them respect the autonomy. Let us not enforce another examination on the students, another hardship on the students. Let us try to judge their capability on the basis of the marks that they have obtained at the class 12 level. Thank you very much for giving me this opportunity.
Thank you, Professor Aditya and Misra. You have very nicely raised the problems related to CU-CET in front of everyone here. We have had a very heated discussion, among some of the participants in the chat box. I would, request everyone, whenever you attend this forum or any other forum, please try to maintain the decorum of the meeting. Everyone here, I can vouch for everyone here who would love to, listen to a different viewpoint as well. But please do put it up nicely so that no one is hurt in any way, right? So taking it forward, let us quickly also look at some of the questions that have come. And most of the questions that are there on the chat box are from some of the students and also from some teachers. One of the questions.
You muted yourself.
I'm sorry, I don't know why this keeps happening. Yeah. So one of the questions is from class 12 humanities student. The entire spirit of the question is about how CU-CET may be a level playing, portal or ground for the students to sort of gain admission in central universities. So just to summarize this particular question, it says that if CU-CET is not the right way to go ahead, then how can admissions take place, especially at a time where board examinations have been cancelled? So merit definitely cannot be a criteria for admissions, right? Also, this student has also written that in some of the boards, state boards, like say for instance, Chhattisgarh, there have been home-based open book exams for class 12 students. So they are clearly at an advantage than others. So therefore, at this time, talking about the specificity of the pandemic situation at a time where the board exams have been cancelled. So for 2021 especially, what is the way forward, if not CU-CET? I would invite any of the speakers, anyone from the three speakers or all three speakers also.
Chandrachur.
Okay, so Richa, as I said, when you look to such a question, you have to understand the spirit behind the question. And you also need to understand why such questions come. And this is where I said that, when you have very intuitive, catchy slogan to package something, then all of a sudden, the whole country seems to become, all those who are opposing it become the villain, and the entire country supposedly is supposed to be, going into that frame. And this is entirely what has happened with CU-CET. This is basically just to cite, as I said, some colleges, some, the soaring cutoffs. They say, okay, बहुत हो रहा है, इसलिए अब इसको हम level कर देते हैं. Just hang on and I'll give you an example and you'll understand. Let's suppose you are sailing midstream in a boat or a ship. And all of a sudden there's a problem. What do? Do you dismantle the ship altogether? You simply plug it, right? Now, as far as the CU-CET is concerned, remember we're trying to base it on the argument that, okay, you have a SAT, you have a NEET, you have this and you have that, and therefore why not this? Now, one size fit all approach or something which is relevant elsewhere also would become relevant here. Life doesn't operate that way. Look at the places where SAT or other such things happen. That happens in US or in the UK, and remember that's a continuous process. And remember, those universities have a basic level playing field. It's not the kind of universities that you have, some of them are public funded, some of them are private funded, some of them are, mixed funded, right? So therefore, what happens elsewhere does not suit here. What you require is this year, particularly this year, you've had a problem. Now, once you've had a problem, the Supreme Court also intervened, and the Supreme Court said, okay, go back, look into the scores there, and try and create a objective parameter of assessment. And to be fair to the CBSE has tried to create some kind of a structure. Now, you mistrust them. All of a sudden, just the way you're mistrusting the people who are voicing their opinion against the CU-CET, what you're also doing is you're mistrusting the CBSE. You are mistrusting the exam, the paper, the mark that the CBSE would be giving. And all of a sudden, you do not understand what are the prevailing specificities of the university. I mean, I tell you about Delhi University, and I'm sure many of us from Delhi University here, they understand. What is peculiar about Delhi University is that Dr. Misra teaches in one college, I teach in one college, we follow the same curriculum. The level of the teachers in different colleges virtually remains the same. It's not that everybody who teaches in St. Stephen's or Hindu, they are the best, and the one who's teaching in Sadanand is not good. It's just a matter of chance. Now, for CU-CET to happen, you will have to dismantle all this. You will have to, I'm not saying don't have CU-CET, but to have the CU-CET, you will have to alter the structure of the university. Now, please understand, there's no, one can argue and say, okay, what's wrong in altering the structure of the university? Well, go ahead. But you'll have to understand that 70% of the Indian higher education is being catered by the private institution. It's just the 30% which is in the hands of the government, which is where fairness principles come into play, which is where diversity comes into play, which is where, the whole idea of a cosmopolitan culture that you have in Delhi University comes into play. Now, if you want to dismantle that, go ahead. Nobody can stop you from doing that. As far as the admissions this year is concerned, I don't know what the Honorable Vice Chancellor has said and how that can become a reality. The fact of the matter is that you will have to trust the teachers. I think at the level of the university, you could have some kind of a mechanism, a softer mechanism, perhaps, where, the judgments can be done on an equivalence. I mean, how do you do have equivalence for foreign nationals? Have some kind of an equivalence system, try and be accommodative, right? Remember, every year we have students scoring 100%. We try and accommodate everyone. Remember, all those who come in the cutoff are given admissions. So, against a sanction seat of 28, at least in my college, we go on to have 100 plus students. And remember, the teachers do their extra bit, go all out to sort all that issues. So the problem is that, and remember, these are the people who've been saying that ek test kaise ho sakta hai? Why should CBSE be the parameter of all, merit-based system? So, right. You cannot have your cake also, cut it also, eat it also as it suits you. I think right. This is a particular year, and I think it's a specific year in which such a problem has cropped up. And because it has cropped up, you'll have to have an understanding of how things have been happening. Be fair. I mean, I think there is an objective assessment happening at the CBSE. All those who are not satisfied by that, they can go ahead and write their own exam whenever time comes. And perhaps, that's the time that they can come back and judge themselves. I think, and I think I wrote this piece for the Hindustan Times where I said that, it's just an odd man where somebody is not done well in the past, all of a sudden can do very well. Generally, coherent, systematic, and even for those people, there is a choice. So I think you'll have to be a bit, you'll have to have the trust. I think unless you start trusting your teachers, unless you start believing in the institutions that you are coming to place, I think nobody will help you. So I think that is the question, that is the answer that I have in mind.
I think that's very well answered, Professor Singh. Also, I would also like to add that, those students who think that CU-CET will actually offer them a level playing field, especially at a time where the board exams have been cancelled, are actually quite mistaken, because primarily the fact that for the class 12 syllabus, there has been a massive cut, in several boards, about 30 to 40% cut in the teaching of the syllabus in class 12, as per newspaper reports, right? But the CU-CET, just like the JEE mains for whatever was conducted, covered the entire syllabus, even the syllabus that was not taught, right? So what is the guarantee? How would the CU-CET take into cognizance that a larger chunk of the syllabus has not been taught to students in class 12. And if they expect the students to answer those questions from that chunk of the syllabus, right? So I think it is quite a mistaken, idea to think that the CU-CET, especially at the time where the board exams have been cancelled, will offer a level playing field to the students. It will not, because students have not been taught the entire syllabus in class 12. There has been a reduction of 30 to 40% across boards throughout the country for class 12.
And may I just add? Remember, there has been an ongoing protest in the southern part of this country, even about the medical admissions. Remember, you'll have to understand that education is in the concurrent list, and therefore the states also have their own ways or languages in which they teach. So simply all of a sudden, a person who has gone into the school in one language may not be very good in English, may not be very good in the technical ways of writing exams, all of a sudden finds himself or herself in the vast sea. You have to first train a student to swim in a pool, then in a pond, then in a river, then you throw him into the deep sea. It's not just that you're playing with the lives of the students. You simply pick the students because it suits your kind of an agenda. Then all of a sudden say, okay, ye laga dete hain, bilkul theek ho jayega. Life doesn't go on that way, right? And one-stop solution for all the problems will only lead into totalitarian kind of systems that we've had in the past. I mean, one problem and all problems and one solution. I don't think humanity is fit for that. No.
Yeah, absolutely. There is another question, a similar kind of question from, I think it's a student, but it's not mentioned here, which says that if, universities like Jamia and JNU can have entrance examinations, why not DU? Would anyone like to?
Well, again, and I'm sorry to be taking it up because I've become a bit passionate about it. Try and understand the structure of Jamia and JNU and then talk about DU. Is DU a unitary university? Isn't Jamia and aren't Jamia and JNU unitary universities? How many students do you have in JNU? More students. I have more students in my college than the entirety of JNU. And no disrespect to JNU. No disrespect. But JNU is a different university. 3,000 plus students in the whole of the university. I have 4,000 in my own college. I mean, come on, compare. I mean, wahan ho raha hai to isliye yahan bhi ho. It doesn't happen. Remember when we were kids, there used to be an advertisement on the Doordarshan, "Tumhari sari, meri sari se safed kaise." This is not the way institutions are run. This is not the way institutions function. JNU was created as a specific university, whereas DU is known for its colleges. I mean, tell your viewers, DU came later. Colleges came first. DU came around only in 1922. It's the colleges who make the Delhi University, right? And therefore, the character of Delhi University is entirely different from the character of Jamia or JNU or ANU for that matter. Look at the BHU. BHU doesn't have many colleges. It still has some. Why is it the CU-CET was not implemented at BHU? Even Allahabad has a few colleges affiliated to it. Why is it
11 colleges
not implemented there?
11 colleges.
11 colleges. So try and understand. And remember, here you are talking of 84 colleges. You're offering plethora of subjects, right? You cannot simply, at a stroke of a pen, simply decide and do it. I'm not against, doing any reforms, but the reforms have to be systemic. The reforms have to be rational. It has to be based on deliberative arguments, and then perhaps a lot of changes need to be brought at the basic levels from where you go up. Right? I remember I wrote a small piece rebutting, and please forgive me for saying this. At one point in time, 4 years program was introduced in Delhi University. All hell broke against it. All hell broke against it. Right? What's happening to that agenda? Isn't it being pursued today? So the point is that, if you simply try and, project one thing and say, "Isme to bas bhai hai, ye hai, wo hai," I don't think that happens that way. Life doesn't happen. And remember, we are talking of higher education in this country, which is either ways in problem. Right? So I think it will take time. You will have to, get into the basics of it, do the necessary reforms at the building block level, and then maybe over a period of time, create those structures, create, why, once you have a CU-CET, now I'll give you another technical, practical problem. CU-CET only for Delhi University are we talking about? Or
Yes.
are we talking about CU-CET
All
between the
central
universities? Right? Now, how does a student know which college is better than the other college? Do you have an open day system? Remember, the open days that we have is not the kind of open days that should be happening. Does a student get to know which teacher he will be getting? What the teacher will be teaching? What are the research areas of this teacher? I think there are issues which need to be taken care of before we get into all this. This is a final, this is kind of a topping. The base has to be there. Once you've had the base, you've had the cheese, then you can put a bit of oregano. CU-CET is like an oregano, right? It's like the topping of your pizza. Have the pizza there, have the base there. It's the quality of the base and the quality of the cheese that you put in, which will determine, not the topping alone.
Good.
Excellent. Excellent. Also, JNU also, at least at the time that I was a student there, had these deprivation points, especially for students, coming from marginal sections, even backward regions and conflict-prone regions. Special concession or special points for admission was given to them. I don't know what the scene is now there in the admission criteria, but at my time it was. So it did take into consideration, even though there was an entrance exam, it did take, JNU does take into consideration the students who are coming from marginalized and conflict-on areas, which this CU-CET there is no talk about doing, right? So definitely it is, this particular entrance examination seems to be favoring those who have better resources, better learning material to study in their class 12 than those who are coming from rural or backward regions. There are a few more questions. I'll just come to this. There is a student who's asking that I'm ready to give the optional exams if my score that I'll perceive at the end of the month of July appears to be not up to the mark. But will the universities wait for those students? This question does not seem to be very clear.
This is again for the university to decide. But let me tell you this: those students who would be appearing for exams need not worry, right? See, it again, for generations, I have been told, and I have also been telling people that don't think that, college A, if you get into college A, you are an IAS. If you get into college D, you are a PN. It doesn't hold good for Delhi University, right? The university admissions at Delhi University goes on almost till September and October, right? Almost till September and October. And you do have the option of even going into the School of Open Learning, right? And from the School of Open Learning, you also have an option to come back. So all that can happen. So you don't have to be disheartened all of a sudden that, okay, if my score has not been good in CBSE, the whole world has collapsed for me and there's nothing for me. I think there would be, if deliberations happen, if deliberations happen, I think there will be a window, there should be a window to cater to these kind of exigent situations as well.
Let me add to this. We have to make these windows open, considering the specificity of the time and the typical nature of the things that the students are placed into. I will request Dr. Seema Das, our members, the Academic Council, Kapila, Sudhanshu, and others to take it up. Alok Ranjan Pandey, all our members, Dr. C.M. Negi, to take this issue up with the university administration to ensure that those students will be appearing for their examination. They should also be considered. First, they should apply for the things, they should get enrolled, and finally they should come up with their marks. And there has to be the enhanced time period should be given. And as Chandrachur ji has nicely put it, that all colleges are the same. But one correction that I am going to make, right now there is no transfer from the campus of open learning to this formal, because that is a 3 years annual mode examination.
I think this year the semester steps in SOL also.
Acha. But the transfers are not taking place. That is, I sincerely hope you are right. Thank you.
Okay, there's one more question that talks about how fair would be a merit-based admission process be, especially, I think it's a student who says that the criteria chosen by state boards differ with each other quite a lot. One of the boards of India has decided to prepare their students' class 12th mark sheets on the basis of their 10th board exams. What is the level of fairness if that is taken into consideration?
Well, the Supreme Court only yesterday or day before has struck down the examination scheme of a particular state, right? I think, as far as I am concerned, or the little that I know, I think what we will actually land up on will be some kind of an equivalence system, which will have to be created, right? And this is just because of the pandemic itself. Now, if Chhattisgarh goes on to have an open book examination, right, and has a particular kind of a result, the trends will make it very clear. And I think this is where you will have to understand, that is why, remember, I talked about the autonomy of the university. The autonomy of the university comes in here. And I think the universities will have to devise systems to ensure that there's a perfect balance. The CBSE schools will have a merit-based system, and that merit is entirely that the Delhi University should take care of. Some exigency situations, I think, as Dr. Misra said, some windows will have to be created. I can't straight away tell you what that window would be. I'm sure our leaders and our members of the council and others would deliberate on it.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Priyam Barua from ARSD College wanted to make an observation. Priyam, are you there? Okay, I think Priyam has been disconnected.
Priyam is there. Priyam is there. Allow.
Like very, I'm listening to everything.
Good to see you.
Thank you, sir. Thank
You
you
had
so
a very difficult time.
Yes, sir.
We all sincerely wish you that you should recover as fast as possible. And our sincere condolences, the loss of family members at your home.
Thank you so much, sir. And thank you, sir, for your sincere wishes. Sir, I have an observation to make in this regard, because the CU-CET, like we have learned a lot about actually the CU-CET from the esteemed panelists, whatever you all have discussed, the 3 esteemed panelists. Like this is something that have spoken the core of the problematics that is associated with the CU-CET and its hasty implementation. Sir, my observation is about the contradictions. The contradictions that the government, the government announces something, and after that, it forgets that what it announced. This is regarding the NEP, sir. When K. Kasturirangan, he submitted the draft of the NEP in 2018, the most important, one of the most important things that they have categorically mentioned is that removal of the rigid categorizations, exclusionary categorizations. ये उन्होंने mention किया है. That is one of the purposes and visions of that draft document. But when CU-CET and other whatever provisions the NEP actually brings about, and the implementation of the CU-CET, it definitely puts the marginalized, particularly rural marginalized students under distinct disadvantage. And this is, ये आप लोगों ने काफी अच्छे से explain किया है. We have understood actually how it is going to do. But the contradiction is about those streams also, because NEP talks that it is going to remove any kind of watertight compartmentalization of various streams. It says that किसी भी तरीके का strict division जो है, these will cease to exist. Then again, in the implementation of the CU-CET, we can see that they are bringing this watertight compartmentalization. So again, a contradiction. So 12 board exams have been cancelled, and then again they are saying that this, board exams के जो result होंगे उसका weightage 50% लेंगे और इसका ये लेंगे. Then again, it's very misleading that how they are going to kind of reconcile with this contradictions that they are saying. उनका बोलना ये है, करना ये है. Sir, economic survey, इस साल का economic survey I was just going through yesterday. I was just reading what are the, because this is nothing but the bombastic, claims of the government that they have achieved. वहाँ पे लिखा है V-shaped recovery. एक graph दिया है, curve दिया है, जिसमें they have spoken that it kind of it went to the bottom and that it came up like booming the economy, and they said the government has taken such steps that no second wave would come. The second wave came, the economy is plummeting and everything is under, and the third wave is also coming. वो कितना भी ना करे, Delta variant is going to come. It is there. So these contradictions are irreconcilable. The government should actually understand what they are propagating and what they are achieving, और वो कर क्या रहे हैं. So this is like one of the observations, and I have learned a lot. Thank you so much. I mean, बहुत सीखा.
Good, nice to see you, Priyam.
Thank you so much, sir.
Nice to see you. Great.
Richa, before we literally go away, एक बात मैं और कहना चाह रहा था. बहुत देर से मन में आता है, इसलिए कह रहा हूँ. See, whether we will have the NEP or not, or whether we should have it or not, good or bad, these are different debates. But if we consider NEP to be a house, right? Remember, the CU-CET will be the door. You don't normally, you create a house, then put a door outside, right? It's not that you create a door and then you go down to make a house. It never happens. ना पहले घर बनाते हैं फिर दरवाजा लगाते हैं, right? दरवाजा लगा के घर नहीं बनाते. I have not seen it happening anywhere, right? So I think just to keep the door or give the final veneering there will not help it, right? So therefore, if CU-CET has to come, a lot will happen, a lot should happen, a lot ought to happen with discussions and deliberations, where objections should be raised, where all the good that is there should be brought in, all the evil designs that are there should be taken away, and this will happen over a period of time. Now, until that happens, I don't think any hasty implementation of such schemes will serve the purpose. It will be disastrous, as I said in my opening remarks. It might soon seem very catchy, very intuitive. इसीलिए logic और intuition में अंतर है. Logic is there when you put a logic, there will be a counter logic, there will be a dialogue, and then you come to a conclusion. ये जो intuitive होता है ना, इसमें बड़ा span होता है, moral और ये ethical उसमें pitch in करते हैं, तो इसलिए ये problem होता है इसमें. I hope that makes things clear for students.
Yeah. Thank you, Dr. Priyam and Dr. Chandrachur Singh. I think we've had a very nice, exhaustive discussion this evening. It has made our Friday evening worthwhile, definitely. Thank you. I would like to just end the session now with a vote of thanks to the three eminent panelists here.
And last bit, एक बार और बोलना जरूरी है. This is very important for students if they are listening. Don't ever go by a college. I tell you today, not many people in the university know this, but I was a student to Dr. Aditya Misra for the first 3 months in Aurobindo College, right? If, I'm not saying that I've done anything or I've achieved anything, but if I have moved on in my life, if I could transfer myself to Ramjas College, study there, and then do whatever I've done little, you will have to understand that any college in the Delhi University is as good as the other, right? So I think the students must be told that they should not be going on बाप दादा का जो perception था कि एक ही college है. अब 1898 में तो हिंदू college ही था. You don't go by, you don't get carried away by those archaic, age-old perceptions. Reality has changed. The toppers come from non-campus colleges, and that is something, those pecking orders are breaking now. and you'll have to understand and you'll have to live by it.
Yes, absolutely. Ashok, sir, please unmute yourself. You're trying to say something? Please unmute yourself.
Yeah, actually, this is a new set, as I told you. I am not been working with my original set, is not working today. I'll just have to tell you that there are so many questions that coming in the social media. Also, we all are privy to that. So these questions are to be answered by teachers activists across the country regarding NEP. In fact, NEP is a confused one. You all know that how many versions of NEP came. First came, second came, third came, fourth came, and all that. So my issue is that the teachers should unearth the kind of lack of logic and the contradictions PM was talking about, the contradictions in the entire exercise. Teachers have a duty, teachers organizations have a duty to expose them, to take it to the people, and also at the same time to see that the students are least affected by this kind of very deliberate attempts to confuse everything.
Right. Thank you. Thank you, Professor Barman, for your eternal wisdom, as seen always in all of the talks. Also, Professor Chandrachur Singh, for the beautiful metaphors that you use to explain things so nicely and so elegantly. And also to Professor Aditya Narayan Misra for making all of this happen and to guide all of the entire talk today. Thank you so much. We can only hope, as one of the students has written here in the chat box, that we get to know very clear and very just information about the admission procedure, because it can actually be psychologically it can be very exhausting for the students with all the uncertainty that there is, that they have to study something new again for the entrance exam and so on. So we can only hope the best for the students, and we do hope that the government takes into cognizance all the concerns that are raised through this platform here. A very good evening to all of you. Thank you.
Thank you, Richa.
Thank you.